everybody stood still and shot like this. But then some brothers got a hold to the game. And they just ripping and running up and down the floor, ripping and running up and down the floor. Changed the whole game. They first called it ghetto ball. Then they went and tried to play them. And the brothers ran them to death. And everybody realized we got to change the game. Now they call it up-tempo. And everybody playing up-tempo because you can't play up-tempo, you can't compete. That's just the way it is. You look at the business world. You had IBM. IBM introduced the concept of computers, ruled the computers all over the world, had a culture that said to work for us, you got to wear a black suit, a white shirt, and a dark tie. Otherwise, you can't work for us. Created a culture that was so stiff and so immovable, they couldn't attract the brightest mind. Finally, some guys by the name of Steve Jobs and a bunch of guys and Bill Gates said, you can build computers in a garage, in tennis shoes and blue jeans. And they started building computers in a garage, in tennis shoes and blue jeans, and changed the whole paradigm of how business ought to work and deal with computers. Almost put IBM out of business. They almost went out of business. And they realized we cannot operate in this same myopic paradigm of the past. We're getting our economic lunch eaten. And the same thing will happen to the church. We got to understand the times. We got to know what to do. And we got to be able to package a message that young people understand and can relate to. Jesus gave us the answer. It was very simple. He said, you can't put new wine in the old wineskins. Old wineskins are good to take care of the old wine because the old wine is good wine for those of y'all who drink wine. The best wine is old wine, so you don't throw the old wine away. You keep the old wine, and you also keep old wineskins to store the old wine in because it's the best wine. But the new wine has not yet fully fermented, you see. And so if you put it in the old wineskins, when it starts to fully ferment, it's going to expand. It's going to burst the wineskins. The wine is lost, and the wineskins are destroyed. But it requires a new wineskin that still has its elasticity. So when you put the new wine in the new wineskin can stretch and expand, and it accommodates the new wine, so you preserve both the old wine and the old wineskin, and you got the new wine and the new wineskin, because eventually all the old wine going to be gone. But new wine becomes old wine if you keep it around long enough. So the church has to create new wineskins, a way of bringing in the new wine of these younger folk, and we got to give them a chance to grow and learn and make mistakes the same way we did. And we can't throw them out of the church because they're still young and they're still going to make mistakes. And we would make the same mistakes now. We're just too old to do it. You know, people come talk about, I don't go to the place I used to go. I don't do the things I used to do. I don't hang out with the people. No, because you're too old. You can't stay up long enough. You can't stay up long enough to be out there where people are. You can't do the stuff you used to do because you got to get them to go to work. You don't do it because you're too old. So take your old self on home and go to bed and get some sleep. But the young folk are still young enough. So I know I'm telling the truth. I know I'm telling the truth. I'm talking to myself. Now, I used to think I could stay up just 24 hours a day. I don't need no sleep. Give me 2 or 3 hours of sleep. I can make it. Just wrong as 2 left shoes. Crazy as a $3 bill. Take my tired self on to sleep, get in the bed, and try to get as much sleep as I can because it takes the battery longer to recharge than what it used to take. And it drains a lot faster. But we got to give young people a chance. And they'll make us proud. They'll make us proud. They'll grow into this thing. They'll grow into it. And they'll make us proud. Well, Jesus was a young militant revolutionary. He believed that God was still doing great things and God would do great things through his generation, and that God had a kingdom to bring, and it caused him to be betrayed. It led to his assassination, crucifixion. 3 more minutes and I'll be through. So they bring him before Herod. Herod questions him in verses 8 and 9, chapter 23. Jesus still remains silent before Herod, 23:9b. The chief priests are still standing outside, and they're trying to offer testimony and throw things in the mix. Verse 11, Luke 23, then Herod with his men of war treated him with contempt and mocked him, arrayed him in a gorgeous robe, and sent him back to Pilate. Herod had a little bit of fun, made mockery of Jesus, made fun of him. He said, look, I ain't got no time for this. Take him on back to Pilate. So now he comes back to Pilate, and Pilate now sweating bullets because he realized I couldn't get rid of this thing. This thing is back in Jerusalem, back in the Judean province, back at my desk. So they bring Jesus back to Pilate. Verse 13 of Luke 23, then Pilate, when he had called together the chief priests, the rulers, and the people, said that you have brought this man to me as one who misleads, a deceptive. And indeed, having examined him in your presence, I find no fault in this man. Pilate again declares Jesus is innocent. I find no fault in him. Verse 15, nor does Herod. Herod would have had to send Jesus back with a document, an official legal document he would be required to send back to Pilate. So obviously, Herod sent back to Pilate saying, I can't find no fault with the hick either. Nothing worthy of death. So now Pilate has a plan. Pilate said, okay, they want blood. I'll give them some blood. So Pilate said, okay, I'll chastise him. I'll have him beaten and mocked and ridiculed. I'll then send him back. They'll feel sorry for him, and they'll say, that's enough. But he didn't know the hatred that these guys had for Jesus. And so they cried out, no, we want him crucified. So Luke doesn't give the account, but Pilate actually takes Jesus, has him scourged near to death, and then brings him back and presents him to the people, and Pilate says to him, behold the man. He's just a man. And to Pilate's amazement, they start to scream to the top of their voice, crucify him. Crucify him. And now Pilate says he has one last effort to rid himself of this problem. He has a custom. Every year during the Jewish Passover, he releases a Jewish prisoner free. Let him go free as an act of goodwill. So Pilate goes through the record and he says, give me the worst gangbanger, thug, knucklehead we got in prison. A man by the name of Barabbas. Barabbas was an insurrectionist trying to overthrow the government. Barabbas had committed capital murder. He was a real criminal. So they bought Barabbas out, and Pilate says, okay, here's what I want to do. He says, I'm going to release somebody to you. Who do you want? Jesus or Barabbas? And to Pilate's ultimate amazement, they hired Barabbas. Barabbas. Release the thug back. Release the murderer back. Release the gangbanger back to us. Release Barabbas to us. And Pilate couldn't believe it. Pilate said, you mean you want him back out on the street? Every now and then people call me, Reverend, would you come down to the courtroom? My son is in prison. I go every now and then, but I read the rap sheet and I say, me think not. I don't think so. There are some people who have decided they don't want to live among us. The way they treat people and shoot at people and shoot people and try to hurt people. I know that's your baby, but your baby has grown up to be a gorilla. Gorillas are babies too. And then they start to terrorize the neighborhood. No, some people need to be locked up. I'm serious. Lock them up. I don't care if you lose the key, throw away the key, take the lock off the bar, just don't let them out. Look at this guy out in California. Now, I ain't got no mercy. I'm going to tell you right now, I have no mercy for pedophiles, none. And I'm a nonviolent man, but when people start abusing children the way this guy has abused folk, I would go out to California and would campaign for them to reinstate capital punishment just to get rid of him. He done ruined this young girl's life. And who knows how many other people's lives he's ruined along the way. Well, that's a whole nother sermon. Now, when you see what I see, you see how people's sexual sins devastate children. And most of the time, they never recover from it.